There's a lot of controversy around the Pump token. For example, the expanding supply and the doubts that that expanding supply might long-term depress the price. But then we've also got the buyback program, so regular purchases that should support the price. The Pump.fun ecosystem dominates the Solana chain. Pump.fun is the launchpad of meme coins that grew massively last year. Here is the buyback program. We have seen more than 200 million worth of Pump getting purchased over the months. So that's 13% of the entire supply. Have a look at this here. This is the Pump price relative to the Solana price. How's the Pump token doing relative to its ecosystem token? This is where the buyback program started, or at least where it got any significant purchases. And we did see slight outperformance since then. 33%. We are in a somewhat bullish long-term trend. So that's Pump versus Solana. And here is Pump relative to the others market cap. So that's looking at Pump as just another altcoin. How is Pump doing relative to the altcoins in general? Here is the beginning of the buyback program. Again, we did see some outperformance since then, 42%. But here it's not that clear that we're really in a long-term upwards trend. It rather looks like recently the trend isn't necessarily our friend anymore, at least over the last 3 months. Have a look at the trading volume in general on the Solana chain. It's 5.9 billion in the last 24 hours, and 3.9 of that just happens on PumpSwap. So really, everything on Solana in terms of usage statistics is dominated by Memecoin trading on Pump.fun. Here's the TVL, the total value locked, the capital that's currently on the Solana chain over time in US dollars. And here's the same measured in Solana. It seems like we are hitting a peak. And if you're rather pessimistic about the situation, we might argue that the downside is much larger than the potential upside. If we were to enter a real bear market again, if Bitcoin was to sell off, and Solana is one of the more risky altcoins, might go down with it, and as a levered bet, the Pump token might go down even further, right? The higher we go on the risk spectrum, the more potential downside we have. Have a look at the number of active addresses on Solana. It grew massively when Pump.fun started to grow, but now it tends to be rather on the decline. Again, there seem to be some kind of invisible ceilings, even in the US dollar price of Solana. Solana has a very hard time going above $270. And since there is a tight coupling between the Solana price and the Pump.fun price, that's also potential headwind for any altcoin on the Solana chain. Let's have a look at the Pump ecosystem specifically. What we see over here, that's the decentralized exchange trading volume on Pump over time. This is coming in waves, but unfortunately, the total value locked, the capital that's currently on Pump as a platform, it reached a peak in the middle of September. Exactly where we've also seen the relative valuation of Pump relative to the others market cap peaking. On chain, we've got 111,000 holders of Pump. I don't really like doing it, but that's how the YouTube game works. That's how the algorithm works. Please give this video a like if what you've seen so far has been useful. Thank you very much. And it seems like no wallet cohort is eager to buy Pump now. This is the number of retail investors on the left. So the number of wallets with 300,000 tokens. It's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. That's what I'd consider retail. There's only 5,400 such wallets out of a total of more than 111,000 wallets. So really, many wallets have very small amounts of Pump. In the middle, we see the number of wallets with 3 million tokens, or $10,000 worth of the token. On the right, it's $100,000 worth of the token. None of the wallet cohorts are still growing in numbers. That's of course a problem. We need to see a growing investor base to get long-term outperformance. Among the larger altcoins, Pump is one of the most risky. It's not just very risky because it's meme coin trading, it's also rather risky because there's levered bets on the token. At least a lot of leverage that deflated recently. Have a look at the Pump token price development on an hourly chart. And have a look at the 10th of October. Pump on that day fell by 73%. That's more than the average altcoin that went down by only 47%. So this cascaded liquidation that we saw on that day, that can be seen on pretty much any altcoin, it had much more impact on Pump than on other alts. Many long positions lost all their funds, and we tend to be in a downward trend now, both for Pump, but also for the general market. On that 10th of October, we saw almost 240 million worth of long liquidations, and the open interest fell massively. It fell from 800 million down to 300 million. So not everybody got liquidated. Some people already sold before their entire portfolio got wiped out. Now there's different ways to look at this chart. There is a positive correlation between open interest, so the amounts of bets on the price, and the spot price itself, right? When there's more bets on the price, we tend to also see spot going up. We could make the argument that because open interest is so low right now, that there is potential upside, right? Once momentum turns around, Pump could easily do another 2 or 3x in its US dollar valuation. But that's of course a tall order, right? Trading volume has to go up as well. I think fundamentally the question is about time horizon and whether or not this bull market will continue or if we're now transitioning into a bear market. Yes, the trading volume on Pump.swap might not be 100% clean. There are trading bots, there is wash trading, but that wash trading also generates fees. That creates buybacks. And the buybacks so far have slightly helped the Pump token. But it's not just about relative performance, right? It's also about the general market. And Solana does seem to be comparatively low. This is the Solana dominance. We have anticipated quite a bit of a sell-off, but we seem to have bounced. And if Solana's dominance can rise by another 30, 40 or 50%, this will also help the Pump price, of course. So there are many important factors that move the Pump price. It's the general macro, where is Bitcoin and Ethereum going? It's Solana specifically that might recover relative to other cryptos. And of course, it's the usage of Pump itself. Now, unfortunately, the usage of Pump itself is going down, but if Solana can outperform, Pump might at least stay stable in a somewhat declining market. I do not have a crystal ball either, and I'm personally not buying Pump right now, but I'm also not betting on falling prices. I think right now it's relatively fairly priced. It's not overheated, it's not oversold, it's simply just hovering along with the general market. Now, if you find this all a bit complicated and you simply just want to copy trade whatever I do, then there's also the premium membership of this channel. So whenever I bet on rising or on falling prices on a particular cryptocurrency, I announce this in the channel. And in July of this year, we also opened an automatic copy trading pool. That pool so far has made 17.6%. While Bitcoin during the same time period crashed by more than 22%. And that's the idea. We want to bet on performance independent of the macro environment. We might just go sideways in the market and we still make money. And if you're going down, we try to protect that capital. And we're achieving this by doing something called macro hedging, right? So we go long, say, a particular cryptocurrency while we go short the entire market. So we're really just betting on the delta. And so we're not really interested what the general market is doing. Even if we are in a bear market, by just betting on the deltas, we can still produce performance. You can simply copy trade and even do this with leverage, right? Here are a few trades made by community members. Or if you want to invest in the next copy trading vault, that will be available to the annual members of this channel. The next copy trading capital pool opens in January of 2026. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you on Premium. Link pops up here on the screen. See you next time. Cheers.